We're now on Daf Kuf Yud Omid Beis, and we've established that Yochayef Alos Chutz Miktsas Dam, and that's true even if we discuss a Chatos Pnimis, which requires for the carbon to be kosher all the Hazoyos. And now the Mishnah goes on to talk about Nisuch Hamayim, first Nisuch Hayayin and then Nisuch Hamayim. Rabbi Lezer Omer, Af HaMenasech Mei Chag B'Chag B'Chutz Chayev. So we know that on Chag HaSukkos there was a mitzvah of Nisuch Hamayim. We don't know if Nisuch Hamayim is in the Torah itself, or maybe, as the Gemara is going to raise the possibility, that's Halacha L'Moshe Misinai. That depends upon Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. But either way, it would seem that Nisuch Hamayim al Gabi Mizbeach during Sukkot is Doraisa, and now he took the Mayim from that special Kli Shares, and that Mayim was designated for what? For Nisuch Hamayim, and he poured it on his own self-made Mizbeach Bachutz Yechayev. Now, I'm not sure that anyone disagrees with Rabbi Lozer. Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Shiore Adam Shekriva Bachutz Chaya. Now, Shirayim of Dam, after the Zrika, what's left in the Mizrach, that has to be poured onto the Yesod HaMizbeach, the base of the Mizbeach, and according to almost all Tanoim, it's not Ma'akiv the carbon. He took the Shirayim, and he was makriv it on a Mizbeach. He poured it on a Mizbeach and burnt it outside of the Mikdash. And the Mishnah says in the name of Nechemia that he's chayav for that, which is a little bit of a pella because Shvicha Shirayim is not likuva. It's not an essential part of that krova. He says here that Rab Nechemia is that, shall we say, that particular dissenting Tana who holds that Shvicha Shirayim is Ma'akev, and the carbon without Shvicha Shirayim is possible. And therefore he's chayav alos chutz if he pours the Shirayim onto the Mizbeach outside. Omar Rava. Okay, now we're talking about Dam Bachutz. Moder Rabbi Lazar b'damim. Rabbi Lazar, who holds that normally you're not chayav bachutz v'hala unless you were mala the entire carbon in its entirety, he would be moder. He concedes that here you be chayav for chutz on part of the dam. This nan, because we have in a Mishnah. Where's this Mishnah in Menachos? No, it's in Yoma, and it says there Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon Omrim. Both Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Shimon agree that if, let's say, you're talking about a chatos hapnimis, and you had to do the hazos hadam here, there, and elsewhere. If the dam was nishpach, he says here, the blood spilled and another animal was slaughtered in order to obtain dam for the remaining applications. Interesting. He did the part of the hazoyas with animal A. The dam of animal A was nishpach. He now needs the dam to do the hazoya. He can now shech the second animal and use the second dam for the hazoya. Mimokom sheposak hu maschil. So wherever he got up to in the hazoyos, let's say he did part of the hazoyos with the first animal, and the rest of the dam was nishpach. Then when they slaughter the second animal, he gets the dam. He picks up exactly where he left off. So he doesn't repeat any of the hazoyos. It's therefore you see that there's a possibility of part of the dam being used in a valid way for part of the hazoyos. And therefore, Rabbi Elazar would be moda, he would concede that if he takes part of the dam and he's malit bachutz, he's chayav. The Mishnah says, Afam Naseach, according to Rabbi Elazar, Me'achag bachutz, Omer Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Nachum Yudfa, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Elazar B'Shitas, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Ozli, and we're talking now about whether or not Nisuch HaMayim on Sukkot is Doraisa or not. And we're going according to Rabbi Akiva, who holds over Nisuch HaMayim Doraisa. And Rabbi Akiva is going to derive it from an extra word in the Pasuk, or maybe an extra letter in the Pasuk. The Sanya Rabbi Akiva Omer. And now we're talking about the carbon tamid that's brought on, let's say, the sixth day of Sukkot. And that carbon tamid has to be accompanied by nisachim. And the Torah calls it nisacheha in the plural. Why nisacheha? I mean, this is just the nisach that accompanies that single carbon of the tamid. Apparently, there's another nisach. So this extra pasuk, according to Rabbi Akiva, or shall we say the plural conjugation grammatically of that word nisachel, that's going to teach you that nisach hamayim on Sukkos is doraisa. It's no less minatora than nisach hayayin in any carbon, and therefore Rabbi Elazar holds, based on his Rebbe's position, that Nisuch Hamayim is doraisa, that if you do the Nisuch Hamayim outside the Migdash on your own altar, then you're chayiv for halas chutz. Omrei Shlokish, Rabbi Yochanan, I don't get it. If Rabbi Elazar holds that the pasuk Nisachela is an allusion for both Nisachim, Mayim, and Yayin, then they should be equivalent. Imala Hal and Shloshis Lugim. With regard to Nisach HaYayin, it's crystal clear that the minimum volume of Yayin for Nisach is 3 Lugim. Then Afkan here too, with regard to Nisach HaMayim, which is derived from Nisach HaYayin, with the extra plural grammatical form, should also be what? Bishloshis Lugim. Okay, so what's so terrible about that? That sounds like a very logical deduction. But ha'omar Rabbi Elazar me'achag ta'omar. According to Rabbi Elazar, he's committed to the position in the Mishnah that with regard to mayim l'nisuch, you don't require shlosha lugim. How much does it require? 1 lug? Right. That it seems that Rabbi Elazar holds that although lechatchila the minig was that they did the Nisach HaMayim with 3 lugim, but I'm going to prove to you that Rabbi Elazar holds you don't need 3 lugim, because Rabbi Elazar is going to say you're chayiv halos chutz even with less than 3 lugim of mayim. So it must be that even bifnim you don't require 3 lugim, because if you require 3 lugim minimum in pnim, then you would not be chayiv halos chutz without 3 lugim, and yet Rabbi Elazar says you're chayiv even for less that amount. But yet, if Rabbi Elazar is standing on the shoulders of his Rebbe, Rabbi Akiva, then we should be equating Yayin with Mayim, or Mayim with Yayin, and therefore, just like Yayin requires 3 lugim, then Mayim should also require 3 lugim. So that's the first kasha of the Gemara. Now the Gemara asks another kasha. If Rabbi Elazar accepts Rabbi Akiva, imala halam b'shar yemos hashana, afkan b'shar yemos hashana, why shouldn't we say that he should be chayav for halos chutz in mayim even during the rest of the year. Because if Rabbi Loza stands on the shoulders of Rabbi Akiva and we establish a parallel, no, not a parallel, an equation between Mayim and Yayin. So then, just like Yayin, you're chayiv any day of the year for halos chutz, you should be chayiv for Mayim any day of the halos chutz. And yet, Rabbi Loza b'chag ka'omar, the Mishnah quotes Rabbi Loza saying that when are you chayiv for pouring Mayim? That was niskadish and a klisharis for the purpose of nisach hamayim. When are you chayiv for chutz? That's only during the chag. Why is it only during the chag? We have to therefore prove that Rabbi Loza is not standing on the shoulders of his Rebbe, Rabbi Akiva, and he's not accepting an equation between Mayim and Yayin. Now, wait a second. This was all Reish Lakish, am I right? I hope I didn't. Oh, yeah. This is all Reish Lakish talking to Rabbi Yochanan. And yeah. Right, and it was Rabbi Yochanan who said in the name of Rabbi Nachum Yodfa that Rabbi Lazar accepted the opinion of Rabbi Akiva's Rebbe to equate Mayim with Yayin. Ishtamit to say Hadi Omer of Asi. So this quote of Rabbi Yochanan, the name Rabbi Nachum, we'll just call him Rabbi Nachum for the time being, is based on the fact that apparently Rabbi Nachum forgot something that was said by Rav Asi. The Omer of Asi, Omer of Yochanan Mishum, Rab Nechunya Ish Bikas Beis Churton, Eser Netios. Now we're talking about Erev Shvius. So on Erev Shvius, there's a halach of Isur or Kedusha Shvius called Tosefah Shvius. That's the month of Elul before the Tishrei of Shvius, so the 7th year. Now, plowing is one of the Isurim of Shvius. However, plowing as an Isur Shvius Charisha only applies to a certain size, a minimum size of a field. And that field is planted with netios. Netios, I think, are saplings. Let's see how he translates it. Saplings. Now, these netios have to be planted in a certain structure, meaning a certain formation in which there's a certain minimum distance between each one of the 10 netios. And that measurement, because again, if the netios are too crowded one to the other, then that's not a soda that generates shvius, the Isur shvius. So in a field of 2,500 amma, which is called a base sa'a, he spreads out the 10 netios. So there'll be enough distance between each of a tree that their roots will not, what's the word I'm looking for? Will not penetrate and take over the roots of another tree. So they have to be spread out. And that's halacha Moshe Misina. Then we have Arava, and they took the Arava on the 7th day of Sukkot and they placed it on the Mizbeach. And that's also halacha Moshe Misinai. He says that according to one Mandi Omar, in Masechta Sukkah Daf Mem Gimel, the Arava ceremony was where they put on the Arava against the wall of the Mizbeach. The Kohanim would then circle around the Mizbeach. They would carry the Daled Minim. But another opinion is that they circled the Mizbeach carrying the Arava. And this halacha of Arava which he says here on each day of Sukkot. So I'm not sure why they did the Zeichel Arava only on Hoshana Rabbah. That I'm not sure. Okay, fine. And that's Halacha Moshe Misina. V'nisur HaMayim is Halacha Moshe Misina. So if it's Halacha Moshe Sinai, then we don't have an equation between Mayim and Yayin. So Rabbi Lazar, according to Ravasi's transmission, was not based on Rabbi Akiva's Rebbe of Nisacheha, where the plural teaches you an equation between Yayin and Mayim, but rather on Halacha Moshe Sinai, which is attributed to Rabbi Nechunya. Tanarabana, we learned to the Brisa, Hamanasek Shloshes Lugim Mayim V'Chag B'Chutz Chayav. So this is the Shita the Chachamim that apparently accepted the equation with Yayin, and therefore, just like Nisra Yayin requires a minimum of Shlosha Lugim, so too Mayim would require a minimum. Nisra Mayim require a minimum of Shlosha Tugim, and Rabbi Lazar Omer in Milon L'Shem Chag Chayav. Right, that the mayim has to be sanctified by being placed in a kli shores for the purpose of nisach hamayim, and then he's going to be chayav b'chutz. My benai. What is the yesod here of this machlokas? What are they arguing about? Omer of Nachman bar Yitzchak, b'yeshir b'mayim kamifli. That's the way we understood it. What is the minimum amount of mayim that you need in order to be chayav? And he says here that both Rabbi Lazar and Tanakam agree that the mayim requires a minimum of 3 lugim. Oh, okay. So this is much more complicated. This has to do with what happens if they put too much water in the kli. Does that mess up the whole thing? So that's beyond the purview of our discussion for today. So I'll wish you a very fine Shabbos. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.